Now when I put together the kit, I made sure the backing was larger than the quilt top. Even though this fabric is 44 inches wide and so is our panel, I wanted to have extra fabric on the sides so I would have something to hold on to. That way when I get to the edge of the quilt, I'm not kind of trying to hold it by my fingertips. Usually I like to give it a good 4 to 6 inches on all sides. That's especially the case if you're long arming, but if you're long arming, I'm sure you already know that. With your 3-yard piece of fabric, the first thing you'll do is cut it in half so that you have 2 separate pieces of 1.5 yards each. Then line up the 2 pieces right side together, lining up those selvages. You may want to pin so that it doesn't slip. Sew those pieces together using a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is going to help give the backing just a little bit more stability. Now that you have your big piece of backing, you could go ahead and trim off those selvages if you'd like. Since the selvage fabric is a little bit more tightly woven, you might not want that in your quilt. The reason that I remove the selvage after I sew it together and not before is those selvages give me a nice straight edge, making it easier to line up those 2 pieces. Now whether or not you take off your selvages, something that would be helpful is to iron the seam open. We're trying to relieve some of the bulk of this backing so that when you get to quilting, you don't run into what feels like a speed bump. And this little iron is perfect for ironing those seams nice and flat. Once you have your backing pressed and ready to go, then you can go ahead and layer your quilt sandwich as normal by putting on your batting and then your quilt top, whether it's the panel or the piece of fabric. Now how you baste the quilt is completely up to you. Doesn't matter, you could use fusible batting, you could use spray basting, or you could even use pins, just as long as you hold those 3 layers together. Remember, the better you baste it, the less chances there'll be of tucks on the back, but we can always call those ruching if necessary. A little texture on the backing. I don't know, I'm sure we can come up with some good reasons for it. Once your quilt sandwich is put together, you're basically ready to start quilting.